welcome to another episode of The Giant Leap. Today we are just us.
Yeah.
It's just us today, and we thought that would be a lovely time to just have a little chat and talk about what we've learned about success.
Yes. I think recently something that's come up for me is rushing about, and the world's definitely telling me to slow down in a number of ways. Like, for example, today, on the way to drop our daughter off to school, I really wanted to get to the gym quickly so I could get my workout in and then come back for this podcast. And crazily, like on the way to her school, there's this stretch of road that always is clear. And this morning, there was a cyclist on there. So there was banked up traffic for ages. It took, we were kind of snailing our way into the next town. And yeah, I just had to be like, okay, all right, this is happening this morning. Never happens. Weird. And then on the way back from the gym, when I was trying to get back for the podcast to get prepared, there was a guy on his scooter, probably going to Brockenhurst College.
Yeah.
And yeah, so everybody was stuck behind him. And it just made me think, wow, recently the world has really been telling us to kind of simplify and stop, eliminate. What's that? The book that our mentor,
Elimination of hurry. The
yeah,
ruthless elimination of hurry.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's been really come up. Do you want to tell the story of another reason why?
Oh, there's so many. So, I mean, okay. I know what Josh is getting at here. I want to go into it. I think it's too raw to go into at the moment. But I mean, this ruthless elimination of hurry really started in summer
Mm,
for me. Because I was working out running and we had events and I was trying to carry on with running and all of that as well and pushing through. And then I dropped a weight on my foot and it stopped me dead in my tracks. And just as that got better, we took our daughter to Paulton's Park and I broke my little toe on my other foot. So I literally could not carry on. I couldn't carry on with the running and I had to like pull
that
back on
stopped you
lots of things. It stopped me
rushing.
rushing around. So that was like a mental thing. And then from there, it's been like a multiple journey of traffic jams, accidents that other people have had around us. We got caught on the motorway when the motorway got locked up for a car fire for like 3 hours, didn't we?
Yeah,
All when we've been trying to get to places for work. So it's always been like stop, take a breath, chill out, relax. Because Josh and I are mental. We
mm,
go all over the country every single weekend, doing like 1 to 2 to 3. I mean, last weekend we were trying to do 5 shows, weren't
yeah.
we? Not all ourselves, but with other people involved. And it's just been insane. Like it's Christmas, so our house is was just last week just transformed into boxes, jewelry, clothing, just
And spending
absolutely
nights
everywhere. Evenings just packing boxes, doing jewelry, gifts for
hanging
other
up
people.
clothes.
Yeah, and I mean that's great, and we love that, but it was insane, wasn't it?
But the great insight to see is we've really been working on creating work that frees up our time and stops that rushing around. But at the same time, we've been putting what we did before and even more so on our plate. So we've not only been trying to build stuff in the background, we've also been, okay, we have to book out Christmas and book all this stuff. And then we've just had to like let things go that could be opportunities that we've already paid for and just say like, we can't do it. Like we've put too much on our plate this time. And I think that's the real lesson is you can't just keep stacking plates. They're gonna
Well,
all
we
fall
could,
over.
and it will work, and it does always work, and we've done it for years. But I think we're in a place now where we realize that if you do less, sometimes less is more
Yeah.
because you can focus more on the less, and that works better. And the main thing that I found, like last week, I'm going to start with the Manchester weekend, which was 2 weekends ago. we drove up to Manchester for an event, and went really badly. And actually our whole energy was bad. You know, we were arguing, not properly arguing, but we weren't happy. We got there with loads of stuff missed. Josh had like not packed the van properly because he was doing too many things, so hadn't concentrated when he packed the van, and lots of stuff was missing, which wasn't a problem because actually that happens. Like there was, and people were like, "What, are you not arguing about that? Are you not?" We are like, "No, it just happens.
That
Like you
with
can't,
experience, with
yeah, you can't blame each other for that kind of thing. It's like, oh God, you've forgotten that. Like a few weeks ago, I forgot all of my jewelry. Like couldn't sell any jewelry. You know, there was nothing to put on the table. So it's just a case of surviving through that. But because of that, our energy was a bit low, and our daughter was being a nightmare, which was causing us to argue with each other because we weren't helping her, and it was, you know, that's where the sort of tensions were. So anyway, so we came away from Manchester and we went to the next day to Frome for our next market. And when I got there, I realized it was like the one that last year I remember standing there and being so, because of what I was going through last year with our business and mentally, um it was so hard for me. I just sort of looked at this building, all these memories came flooding back. I was like, I can't go in there. You know, I can't go in there. I remember last year phoning Josh when I was there and saying, you need to come and help me because I can't sell things because I had an absolute block of selling, being able to sell last year because of um because of what was going on in our business, and I needed Josh to take over, and I think that's one of the places where we realized that you were going to take over
yeah,
part of the business that I couldn't do because I couldn't juggle the finances and sell. It just wasn't working. um but yeah, it all came flooding back to me, and Josh was like, it's all right, we'll be fine, you'll be fine. We're with you, Naya's with you, I'm with you, it's all good. So we went in and we set up, and all of my friends were there, and they were just like right in front of me, and we had the best time. We
yeah.
actually made really good
Well,
money
what we
for a really rubbish market.
I think the key,
Quiet, not rubbish.
one key to that is taking like the final outcome off the table and just being like, okay, the real truth of it is we've got a great setup now because we worked it out the day before,
Yeah,
and you've got all your good market mates around you. Just like don't worry about the outcome, control the controllables, and let's just, set up the cool setup and then hang out with our friends and talk to people and, help them get whatever they need, and that's it.
yeah,
And then see what happens.
yeah,
And I think that kind of took all the pressure away and maybe some anxiety and stuff, and you not being left on your own there to be stuck in the same place again. But definitely having like your market mates around and stuff just
yeah.
changed the atmosphere and
Well, what I've learned is because I've been really on a journey of what we're doing with Tweedy at the moment and where we're going with it. And I really do love doing markets. Like I love it. I genuinely enjoy getting up early, going, setting up, talking to people, having our friends around us, and coming away from the day feeling like we've achieved something, even on the rainy days when it's hilarious, you know, because it's funny. But that's not all of them. That's just the ones that are with our friends, like, you know, and that's where I want to take it, you know, do those ones because we enjoy doing them, not because we have to. And that is something that we're looking at progressing, and something that is definitely come up for us these last 2 weeks, because after that debacle, I said, I don't know if we should do Leeds. And
yeah,
I said this to Josh because it's the same distance and we'll be driving to Leeds and then coming back again to do Gloucester. So it's the same journey of like 5.5 hour drive, 3 hour drive, 2 hour drive. Like it's a mission with our daughter. Um, you know, we shouldn't really do it. And then we thought, oh, you know, it's been payday, it's Christmas, let's just push on, let's do Leeds. 2 hours up the motorway, boom, the van breaks down. stops. Not going to start. Done. And then there was an entire debacle with the RAC from that point on that I'm too raw to go into at the moment. But
They're like roadside assistants if you're listening from
yeah,
Australia.
but they basically, we ended up leaving the services at midnight. We broke down at 2 o'clock. So obviously we couldn't do Leeds, and it actually grounded us uh, for the whole of Saturday. So we couldn't do anything. And we ended up going
We're
to
nuts.
Gloucester.
We're nuts. We still, what did we do? Hire a
We
van.
hired a van.
We got given a hire van from the RAC, which we
Yeah,
drove home at 12 and got home at like, 2 in the morning or something. Then we still got up early the next day and got the hire van, got packed up,
loaded a van into,
went
loaded all the stuff into the new van
and then yeah, headed to Gloucester.
and had a great time.
Yeah,
Again, the second market was a great one. And
yeah. But we didn't rush into it. We weren't pushing ourselves.
no, but it's the same lesson, right? And this is what I'm coming back to. Those two second markets are closer to home. They're within 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes, whatever our time thing is.
Yeah,
They're, they were easier for us. And it ended up being really good both times because our energy was right. And, and this weekend it's worked out brilliant as well because we're just going to Bristol and then we're in Bristol for an entire week. So we're just going to one place
yeah.
and we're going to be there doing multiple things in one place for a week.
Mhm.
And I think that this uh, pushing is something we've always done. And I think that the world at the moment is telling us we will still get an outcome that is good by not having to push so hard.
Yeah,
And that doesn't mean like not applying to things and not doing things and not going. It means thinking and choosing wisely about what we decide to actually go for.
yeah, and giving yourself space and not have like constantly rushing to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing. Because think about what that does to your mental state. It's not good to just be like at the gym or like, oh, quick, I've got to work out so I can like quickly go to get to the next thing, and then you do the next thing, and then you've got something else like straight after that you've got to quickly fit in before you pick Naya up from school. Like
Yeah.
it just never stops. So it's a real mission at the moment. And yeah, I think it feels like the world's really like pushing us in the perfect direction, even though the lessons maybe feel quite harsh. Like thank God that thank God. Sounds like I'm religious.
Maybe
Maybe
you
I
are.
am. Thank Jesus. That it is giving us those harsh lessons because you got to think if it wasn't that harsh, then you'd be teetering about and doing this for years, and then how much of your life do you waste? Instead, the world's just like, you're not going any further. Like,
You can go to Gloucester.
it's blocking you.
You
Like,
can go to you can
yeah,
go to Frome.
yeah.
But
You're not going here.
you are not going more than 3 hours
Yeah.
north. Like,
And I'm
oh,
going
it
to
was
put
2 hours.
and I'm going to take some skin in the game. I'm going to make it hurt so you never go there again and make that mistake again.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
It basically said this is the van breaking down at that sort of 2 hour mark. I think it was, just over the 2 hour mark, which is where we say our sweet spot is
Yeah.
for events.
Yeah.
That it
There's
just
some-
literally was like, this is how far you can go.
Yeah.
This is it. The world, we
That's
are
your
not
limit.
letting you go any further. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, all right, cool. So yeah, so we're actually listening for once, which I don't think we've ever done.
Yeah.
We've never
And
really
if you wanted to
listened.
look into like spiritual things and stuff, a funny one that has come up for me recently
Sure.
is oh, you can tell that story, but for me it was the number 1111 came up constantly just before these things, and it literally is to that your angels or whatever, like basically like the world is trying to tell you something. So just stop and listen because it's trying to like and if you don't listen to it, it shouts louder and louder, and no one wants to see the outcome of that, do they?
No.
Because the longer you leave it and the longer you don't listen, you could the analogy of like a relationship, if your partner keeps telling you something over and over again and then they start yelling at you and you're still not listening, what happens next? Your whole world ends up being taken away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So when we were driving home on that frightful Friday night at midnight, so by the time we got to the forest, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was driving home, and on the side of the road, and I seriously, I don't think I've seen a wild badger since I was tiny at a school trip where we went to actually go and see them. So there was a wild badger just like foraging on the side of the road. And it was incredible. I was like, oh my God, I just saw a badger. And then there was a fox like at 2 meters away,
Yeah.
just doing the same. And we're like, oh my God, there's a fox. And I looked up what badger meant, and it was perseverance, strength, like it was basically to persevere through difficult times. Like
Yeah.
it's going to give you the strength and courage to persevere through difficult times, which at that moment in time was like the most incredible thing ever. And then once we decided that we were going to cancel some events, sort some things out, like chill out a little bit, we're driving along. The same badger's dead on the side of the road.
Uh,
A couple of days later, I was so devastated. I'm still a bit heartbroken, if I'm honest, still a little bit
but
heartbroken.
and then
But we looked it up.
as well as that, there was a white deer straight after it.
Oh
So
yeah,
to put those like together, we used AI to build a story out of it. And it was basically like, okay, the time of pushing and, having to battle your way through things and persist
has gone.
is over. It's dead. And then the new light of a new beginning, that was the white deer, has begun. And so, yeah, it was like a new start to a new journey. And so, yeah, it's really coming
Incredible,
to
really
light.
powerful, like this dead badger. And then I literally just looked the other way, and there was a white deer on the other side of the road, like alive. You know, it was amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I was really heartbroken by the dead badger.
So no matter whether any of that was true or
Yeah,
anything, it made a good story and it fits in with what's going on in our lives. So we're going like, wow, that sounds cool, and that's what we want to do, and
but
that's what we want to take from it. So
but part of being successful is about looking at, I believe it's about looking at these triggers, these things, these signs from the universe, having the right energy fields, making sure that your energy is clear and you've got good clarity and good mindset to be able to deal with the grit and determination that you need for success.
well, I think we'd like to build something that, hopefully we can still be doing in some way till we're, 80, and we can't keep rushing about and, you know, making rushing so much that you can't focus and do things really well.
Yeah,
So, we need to, it's obviously a thing that we need to do at the moment, and where either our subconscious is telling us that or the universe is telling us that, because it's not something that we can keep doing forever, is just rushing about.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So we just need to pause, take a break and a breather, and enjoy time, which is great. And we're really enjoying that. Like I definitely am this morning. I took my time. I did what I needed to do this morning. I haven't rushed into anything. And then I'm going to have a really good day. Like I can feel it. I can feel the energy's good.
Me, on the other hand, I still haven't learnt my lesson. I've been rushing about, but I'm reinforcing it, and the lessons are happening because obviously I haven't fully got the lessons because, as I told you, on the way to the gym, cyclist, on the way back, scooter. So, the world's still going, buddy, come on, you're not listening properly. But, at least I'm aware of those things and I am, you know, trying to put things into practice.
So as far as success goes, do you think that it's really important to uh, uh, like people need to work to be successful. They
Mhm.
need to work hard, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that how does that align with slowing down, you know?
I think you have the energy to do it when you're like 20 to 35, and then like I think you can, it doesn't feel like you're rushing about. You can put everything into every moment, and why not? And then when you start to get over the age of 35, I think you should build something that you're balanced in a lot of ways, or at least you're building towards a life that's balanced and sustainable, because you want to maintain your happiness over a long time. So you don't want to have a life where you're rushing about so that you can make ends meet. You need to set it up so it's like, just a gradual incline, or even, steady along, maintaining your relationships, maintaining your business, everything. You can put some energy into things, but simplifying your life and not having to, you know, think, oh, this, it'll work out if I move house, or it'll work out if I do this. It's like, no, it'll work out if you just like, take the time to find out what you really want to do, and then create simplicity, I think.
So don't bring external factors in because that's just a change. You haven't sorted out your stuff.
Yeah, I would think so.
So I would disagree with you slightly there because I still have the energy to do it. Like I'm not energetically, I could just keep going forever. Like I don't have any energy limits in that sense. Um, so I don't know about that.
But maintaining the happiness side of things, I think to rush from one thing to the next isn't a good mind mind like mindset, because you want to be truly focused on what you're doing in the moment. And how can you do that if you're just trying to rush through it to get to the next thing?
Yeah, okay. So do you think that it's better to, because when you want to become successful, you have to work hard at it. You have to. But I guess there's a thing that you have to learn there where working hard doesn't always necessarily mean you're busy.
No, I'd say like it's a balance of experience and knowledge, because the more knowledge, like we've gained a lot of knowledge recently through experience from making really bad mistakes, and also from learning about business. But I guess it's more experiencing things and realizing that what doesn't work for you, and what doesn't work to be successful, really. And we've found the best way to do that is make mistakes and just fail fast
And fail
and
forwards.
fail forwards. Uh,
Yeah. I think for me, I think over the last few years, I have had more time, even though we've been busier, I've had more time for me than I ever have in my life. And especially at the moment, especially now, I love it.
mm,
I can get up, I've I can choose to go to the gym, choose to come to work early, there's so much time for me. And then I can also work very simply two career paths,
mm,
that are combined together as one. Um, and I'm finding I've got time for my daughter, I've got time for you, we've got time in the evenings. I mean, not last week. We didn't have any time last week, and that drove me mad. But you know, I'm actually very time rich, but it has come from working my butt off at learning how to become time rich.
mm.
I had to
Quite good
relearn.
at filling that time as well, though.
Yeah, but I had to relearn how to set my boundaries and how to work smarter and harder, not crazier. I have systems in place. When I was doing that jewelry, yes, it took me a day, but that when I was doing jewelry for 4 events, it would have taken me 4 weeks before. It took me one day to do it all
Mm,
because I have a system in place,
mm,
and I know what to do and how to do things in the best, quickest, most simplest way. And that's with everything, so that I can get work done. And I'm very good at blocking out my time, which you need to get better at.
mm,
But you've never had to,
mm.
whereas now you have to. You've always had Like you've not had to block out your time in the same way. Whereas I've I've had to learn to do that.
Yeah.
So I've learned and I'm really good at doing that. And I
But
think,
I was thinking today on the drive home that it's amazing, like how we've basically been able to do what we want for like the last 10 years, and that comes at a huge cost, like stress wise. And, I think you do put more time in it to someone that would be at a job, um, and working each day at a set time, and, getting away with not working so much sometimes, and also having that wage come in. But we have full autonomy over our time, which it's just like I couldn't imagine it any other way. And I think anybody that does it anyway is kind of doing a disservice to themselves. Maybe there's different people out there, but I think like if Naya has something at school, we can do it. We could just do whatever we want.
yeah, I couldn't, there's no way I could not have complete control over my time.
Yeah.
I think I've always done it, even when I look back at my old
Yes, me
jobs.
too.
And I think, even jobs where I had to be at work, I would still have massive time in my day where I'd do what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And, or I'd change my hours to suit me, or I'd talk to my bosses, like very rarely. Or I had a lot of part-time jobs that I'd slot in.
Yeah.
Like at one point, I was doing like 5 jobs so that I could fill up my calendar with things I wanted to do. When I was working in pubs and things, I was running youth centres during the day. And then on Saturdays, I'd work in the pub when all my friends would be in the pub so I could socialise but earn money at the same time.
Yeah.
It was like, because I don't want to not be earning money. So I'd just be like, well, I'll work in the pub where all my friends are
Mm.
so I can be earning money and have a laugh with them,
Yeah.
but take home money at the end of the day. And then when we started the festival circuit, it was the same thing. We'd be like having loads of fun, but come out of it on the Monday with all the money,
Yeah.
and it's always been like that for me.
Yeah.
I've
Just a
always
smarter
done,
option.
yeah, I've always earned money where everyone else is having fun.
Yeah, I've always lived a life where I've done the exact opposite of what most people do. But it sounds arrogant when you're saying about the about when we did work for someone else, what I would make sure of, or what I inherently would do, I don't know why, would make sure that I was the best, and then I would have the space to do whatever I wanted to do, because the boss would never, they'd always think that I'm doing a great job, which I was. And so I'd have huge amounts of free time to do what I want with no pressure of that boss ever saying that I wasn't doing a good job.
So on that note of how we've both always done that, we
Mm,
didn't know each other.
mm.
There was no like reason for us to both be similar people in that respect. Do you think that you're born with that tenacity to own your own time, or do you think that is something that you learn, or because
I would guess from me, I was also thinking about this morning. I thought about a lot this morning. Um, I was thinking about how my family, nobody's ever had a job, which sounds like they're all, you know, um, bums or something, but they're not. Everybody's, entrepreneurial and never had a job. And so I think for me, it's never been an option. I've always had the respect of doing a really good job because I was brought up working for like my dad or my brother who had their own companies. So I had that respect. And so I had, um, that thought of like, do a great job, be here, be present, and do what you're there to do, and be proud of your work. Like, I really got gratification out of turning up each day and doing a good job, and then like someone being like, "Wow, thank you so much. That was a great job." I felt satisfaction out of that. So I think maybe that's where it came from for me.
do you know it's so weird because as you said that, it unraveled a whole mind-blowing like realization that although we come from such different backgrounds, we had really similar
Yeah,
upbringings.
because your mum and dad didn't really have proper jobs.
No, right? So
Your
my
dad
dad,
would take respect fully in his work
a
for that
hundred
sort
percent,
of
right? So my mum did work for somebody, but she ran it.
mm,
She ran the business,
and owned her own
owned her
time.
own time, paid herself her wages.
I was
Like,
also thinking about this
yeah,
too.
and then my dad was a musician and a builder, it's a carpenter. Um, and he used to run like build houses or do gigs, and it was all completely on his own terms. It
Yeah.
was
Or
his
do odd
band,
jobs
his
with gigs, like with friends,
yeah,
like putting th tiles on roofs, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So it was always in his own on his own time, in his own. He was worked for himself
Yeah,
basically always, and I was really brought up to respect the work that you put in. My dad's thing is
he's a very
like
proud carpenter.
very proud of like how the outcome of what you do, how it looks like. You have to put 110% in to get out what you want.
And so proud of being a bass player and the sound that you make and the quality of what you do, that now he has some, I'd say, disabilities that stop him from being where he would normally be, so he just doesn't touch the bass.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I mean, the main thing there is also to the point he's so proud, like to the point when we get a vehicle, he's like, you must make that clean. You must clean your outside of your vehicle before you show up at an event. I'm
Yeah, and
like,
he's right.
but it's a really muddy old field. He's like, it doesn't matter. You can't
It's how
turn
you show
up.
up.
You can't turn up in a muddy vehicle to a muddy field. You have to turn up and show. And like he's right. I
Yeah,
mean, we
because the feeling behind that is if you turn up and your vehicle's looking nice, you're looking snappy, then, when you go to talk to the event organizers and stuff, they're going to give you respect and treat you in a great way. And I think they do. If you look like you know what you're doing and you've turned up ready to go, rather than slop out of the vehicle and like you got mud all over the vehicle, it's got a wheel falling off
I mean,
here.
quite often our vehicle is like that, but that's,
Yeah.
we haven't learned that lesson. But what I'm saying is
But
that,
our experience does help
yeah,
because we get to an event and they know us. They
yeah,
they
yeah,
know what they're working with, and we also know um, where we should be at a festival. We've got so much experience,
yeah.
so that
I'm
shows.
going to bring us back to what I was saying.
Mm,
So, as far as like our upbringings, so I definitely had the same upbringing.
mm,
But I didn't realize until you were saying that then. I was like, oh wow. So my role models were the same. My mum worked really hard. She was so precise with what she did. She's so good at that job.
mm.
And she could do it in whatever time she wanted, whenever. She never missed anything for me. She was always there, and before I came along, they sold all kinds of things. They sold um suntan beds, and like I think they sold artwork at one point. Like so it's obviously in my blood,
Yeah,
but I didn't realize that until just now.
there's lots of other similarities, but we'll probably need another podcast to go into that.
Yeah. But
But we're
yeah.
not brother and sister. That's
I
weird.
don't know why it's just said that. That's really strange. Um, but yeah, so I think maybe from my question, I asked you, is it something that's innate and you're born with, or is it something that you learn? I
Mm.
think maybe it is something that you learn.
Yeah, or it might be deep in your bones and something that you learn as well, because you got to think like my parents were like that, their parents were like that, so
So
at
my
some
dad's
point,
parents weren't like that.
mm,
My dad's parents worked. My granddad worked as a crane driver. He was the top crane driver at Southampton Docks.
mm,
So maybe he was a bit more in control of his own time. I wouldn't know.
no,
And my nan ran pubs. So again, probably in charge of the rotors, probably was in charge of her own time.
yeah, so maybe it got stronger and stronger, that voice of owning our own time, it gets echoes out stronger and stronger
Yeah.
as the generations.
Yeah. And then my mum's side, my nan, I think, was probably a housewife. I don't actually know. I would imagine she was a housewife.
Mm,
And my granddad was a cooper. and a barrel maker and then a chief beer taster. So again, he was top in his job. Like they were always top, all of them.
Yeah.
So when you're high up in a role, I guess you do have more control over
Yeah.
your time, don't you?
Well, weird thing, like my dad's dad was an electrical engineer, but his sons were one was a top pilot in the New Zealand Air Force and went on to do like the Thunderbirds. I don't think they're called Thunderbirds, but the trick pilots and stuff. And the other one was a like New Zealand's best drummer, like a musician. So it's weird, like, you've got an entrepreneur, electrical engineer that obviously followed his dad's footsteps, being in electrical, and then a really good musician, and then a crazy pilot. Like,
Yeah.
and it's to have that freedom, and then that's kind of I've come from doing the next thing.
Yeah. That's amazing. My eyes have been open during this podcast. I hope yours have too. We are going to wrap it up there because we're going to rush off and go and get a vehicle because we need one for the weekend. But it's been absolutely great speaking to you all, and we will see you here again next week for another episode of The Giant Leap. See you soon.
Thanks for listening.